Chris Bishop.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. Pleasure to take a call on the government's 2013-14 financial statements. Pleasure to take a call because this is a government that is moving New Zealand in the right direction. And we're actually in a rather unique situation for New Zealand, because New Zealand is growing at about 3% a year, and we have inflation at about 0. And that's actually extraordinary within the past New Zealand history, to grow at a high rate without incurring inflation. What that means is that jobs are being created and New Zealand is getting ahead, and more importantly, New Zealanders are getting ahead because wages are rising faster than inflation. So it's a pleasure to take a call on this. I want to deal with two issues that have been raised by the opposition in the debate so far. The first is about debt and about the surplus, and secondly about research and development. So firstly, talking about government debt, because we heard from members opposite, particularly Annette King, about how the national government's a woeful fiscal manager and Labor was amazing and they ran surpluses for 9 years, etc. And there's a complaint about the surplus. And we heard the same thing from Russell Norman. So three things to say in response to that, Mr Chair. The first is that the premise that the Labor government were wonderful fiscal managers is wrong, because it was the Labor Party and the Labor government that left New Zealand with never-ending budget deficits in 2008 when the national government came to office. Never-ending fiscal deficits. And they often say, oh, we ran 9 surpluses. Wrong. The 2008-9 budget forecast a deficit of $3.9 billion. So it is just wrong for Labor to continually assert that they ran 9 years of surpluses. So between 2005 and 2008, government spending increased 50% in 5 years, Mr Speaker, 2003 to 2008, 50% in 5 years. Interestingly, the Salvation Army in 2008 said that there had been a lamentable lack of social progress despite the increase in government spending. And we've actually got that under control. So net debt was forecast to increase to 60% of GDP by the 2020s. We have got that down. So the first thing to say is the premise that Labor were great fiscal managers is wrong. Secondly, over the last 7 years, the Labor Party and members opposite have continually opposed every piece of fiscal restraint that this government has implemented. As the Minister of Finance, Mr English, rightly pointed out, Grant Robertson stands outside buildings protesting about things. Only a year ago, Sue Moroney was going on about how it was a shocker to cut Moroccan cooking course subsidies in her neck of the woods. So even government cuts to Moroccan cooking, which I think all of us can agree should be paid for by people who, with their own money rather than the government, Mr Speaker, even though they're opposed to those sort of things. And the third thing is, Mr Speaker, listen up, Annette, listen up, is that the Labor Party actually encouraged more spending over the last 6 and 7 years, particularly at the height of the global financial crisis. And it was David Cunliffe, who was the opposition finance spokesperson at that time, who was going on about Keynesian deficit spending. We really had to, throw everything we could at the global financial crisis and really ramp up government spending. And now they have the temerity, Mr Speaker, Mr Chair, now they have the temerity to come down to this House and complain about debt. Well, we have got debt under control. Net debt is forecast to peak at half the level it was going to peak at under the Labor Party, and we are moving in a strong direction back to surplus. Second thing I want to point out, Mr Chair, is about research and development. Because we heard from Russell Norman actually quite a considered speech, to be fair, but he made a wrong assertion. The assertion was that the National Party has cut research and development spending, cut innovation funding. That is not true. And I want to put on record for the House that this government has increased spending on research and development and science by a massive 70% in the last 7 years. 70%. Forecast to hit $1.5 billion by the 2015-16 year. In fact, business expenditure on research and development is rising. It rose between 2010 and 2012. Do we want it to go up more? Of course we do. Do we want to see more businesses investing in R&D and innovation? Of course we do. But we are definitely heading in the right direction, Mr Chair, and that is very important. I want to close, Mr Chair, by talking about our growth prospects, because it's only economic growth that will lead to better lives for New Zealanders, and particularly only economic growth that will help us deal with the most vulnerable in our community. The Treasury and the Reserve Bank and other commentators are now saying that the speed limit of the New Zealand economy, so the limit at which the economy can grow without incurring inflation or inflationary pressures, Mr Chair, is actually a lot more than what we thought it was before. And that is a testament to the hard work that we have done over the last 7 years.
Fletcher Tabato.